Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the old world. I hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, we're back with a showdown between the Lizardmen and Kislev here on a new map in the Total Tavern map pack. It is the Lost Temple of Sotek, and it's a really cool Lizardmen-themed map. Very, very neat stuff. It's going to be KROQY facing off against the dreaded Ice Witch on the other side, and let's get this party started. Now, taking a look at the map, you can see it does have pretty standard deployments in the back with reinforcement points and vanguards up on either side for both players, so no capturable points or anything quite like that. And it's very much a brawler-style map. There's some line-of-sight shooting, but if you are an artillery enjoyer, there is going to be some opportunities for you, right? You can have a little Grom sit right here. It can shoot Objective 3. It could potentially shoot Objective 2. So if you parked a little Grom right here, it would have some decent arcs of fire. But it's a map that is going to allow other factions that are a little bit more brawler-focused, that don't want to be shot to pieces, to have some action, which I think is quite cool. Nonetheless, not to say shooting isn't good in terms of short-range shooting, like bows and guns and stealthy, unless they're trying to shoot through the tree line here, are going to be able to get some pretty good firepower. But yeah, really, really like this one. Awesome aesthetic in the background. You can see it's got some cool mountains here and the ruined temple down here with the star chamber kind of shooting the glorious beam up into the sky. I think it's a star chamber, not sure. Now, as far as the build goes for my Lizardmen army, it's going to be the Amixon Barbs. I think they're cool. Barbara here is certainly packs a little bit of punch against the chariots and different tools like that. I figure they can kind of drop some thunder on the Bariots, cavalry, lords, you name it. We do have a Rev Crystal, a lot of healing. I know Kislev does have a lot of shooting, so if I get caught in a bad position, my characters get shot to pieces, I want to have an insurance policy. So Bastiladon Rev Crystal, KROQY with Hand of the Gods, great anti-large duelist, can fight any of the big Kislev targets, and it's pretty maneuverable. And also a Saurus Scarvet on the spear. So you can see my build is very skewed to deal with chariots, but Zyphos didn't bring a single one. I was like, oh god. And the Skink Oracle, another thing, he brings healing and Earthblood, which is really cool, but his anti-large shooting was there completely to just deal with bear chariots. So it's going to be messy. Temple Guard and a Skink cohort. Now for my opponent's army, the Great Zyphos, it's going to be a bunch of armored Kossars, and he loves his Ice Guards here. So it's going to be Ice Guard Glaives, Ice Guard Swords, more swords here in the back, and he does use the Gust of True Flight to give a little bit of range and accuracy to these Ice Guard, and they actually do put a little bit of arrow volley pressure into the Skink Oracle here. Not a bad trade at all. So moving up here with some armored Kossars on Objective 2, going to be claiming Objective 3. Now, I saw that he had this massive shooting force over here, just a nasty, nasty blob of Kislevite shooting, which is no joke. Ice Guard don't have the craziest armor piercing in their range attacks, but 6 isn't bad, and they do frostbite you, and there's a little Grom as well. So my whole game plan was like, all right, let's just bum rush through the forest, go for Objective 2, and there's a little bit of kind of forest cover here to mitigate some of the shooting coming in, unless he repositions, and you can see he's kind of shooting through the trees right now. So KROQY and his Saurus Scar veteran buddy going to be jumping in, taking down a couple Kossars here. Not too many, a little bit of friendly fire coming in from the Ice Guard, but at that point I get back. He was in position with a lot of shooting, and it certainly didn't feel great. So Ripperdactyls are on their way up. The idea is to have the Ripperdactyls kind of sit here and intercept things like Streltsy that are moving through the tree line, because Streltsy will absolutely annihilate my dinosaurs. Just like handgunners or, handgun mobs for the Vampire Coast are going to be very good against the big targets for sure. So Scarvet's unfortunately going to get popped. So I thought he was safe and broiled in my opponent's formation, but he was kind of overextended on one side, so he does get hit pretty heavily. Immediately Zyphos going up to a pretty big value lead of 1,000 to 100, but pretty normal for lizards. Not really like a heavy shooting faction, so we're going to be moving in slowly but surely. First Rev Crystal goes down, which is really good. It's 0.50 HP and lasts for a pretty long time, so it's a fat heal. I mean, Rev Crystals are very thick indeed. Amixon Barb's going to be creeping around the back trying to shoot, but Zypho's very aware of them, and I think he knew where they were there. I personally thought they were still hidden, or they had stock, but I don't even know if they have stock now that I'm looking at them. I thought I was being sneaky. I'm pretty sure they do, but yeah, they get shot to pieces. KROQY is going to be coming in to try and help. Kossovite Dervishes do pull back at the last second. Of course, Zypho's not going to be screwing up Micro that much, and I felt so safe here. I was like, my Temple Guard will hold this like champs, but a lot of Daka coming in, Ice Guard with swords. A lot of Kislevites, though, standing on this back objective. We got Kossars and Ice Guard, so thankfully they're not committed to the fight. And KROQY and the Ripperdactyls now going to be jumping in and trying to shut down the Kislev infantry wall. My game plan was to maintain a 2-cap long enough that I could win on 1-cap, even at the cost of a little bit of army value, so we'll see how that works out. But Armored Kossars getting torn to shreds. Temple Guard attacking them. Ripperdactyls are actually very, very good. I think they're a decent unit on the Lizard roster, especially against any of these armored infantry factions, like you can see them against Warriors of Chaos. And yeah, they tear apart infantry, cavalry relatively quickly. Now, this is a big one here, the Scarvet, able to kind of block up the Streltsy. They're still kind of shooting because Zyphos has him in guard mode, but we have locked him down. And the Ripperdactyls will be coming in to clean him up. So this is Value City. This is where we start to kind of get our value game going. and the Ripperdactyls will tear through the Streltsy as well as the Dervishes, no problem. Now, getting into the backfield, this is very dangerous. You know, Barbara's back here with the Amix on Barbs, trying to get a little bit of Dacket going, but honestly, Xiphos has just kind of been shutting it down and kiting away from me and forcing me to overextend into his territory, but Coldland Riders heavily outtrade all the Kislevite cavalry, like heavily, with the exception, of course, of the Bear Riders, which can beat them. End of the Gods going down. KROQY with the downtown snipe, and Amixon Barbaras are going to be caught, but Coldland Riders are nearby to fight these Winged Lancers. So we're going to try and get the Barbaras away. You can see some desperate micro trying to escape with them, as they did get a decent volley into the Streltsy. At least they got some value, not a complete wash, but overall, Temple Guard finish off the Kossars that were attacked by the Flyers earlier. And here we do have the Skink cohorts. One of the good things about Lizards is Skink cohorts do have full capture weight. They're not like expendable, and they're really quick. So Lizardmen can kind of swarm onto the objectives with a decent melee defense unit. You know, it's not bad. 24 for a chaff unit. It's not the worst thing in the world. But Blizzard Spell going to be coming down. The Hawks of Mista, or Miska, something like that. But it is going to be punishing them pretty badly. And you can see it really wrecks my chaff units. But thankfully I still have the Temple Guard and the Bastillodon there. George, he's doing his best. But in the backfield, they are getting stuffed up a little bit. Skink Oracle getting into combat, trying to peel, but Barbara's got chased down there. And the Coldland Spear Riders annihilating Winged Lancers, especially with Big Daddy KROQY there. And man, you know, after, you know, playing them a little bit in a couple games, I've been having a lot of fun with Lizardmen lately. Maybe they'll be a faction I'm going to try and figure out. Like, I feel like they have some decent fundamentals, like a lot of healing, decent mobile options, but they play very differently than other factions. Now, summoned in a couple of Feral Cold Ones. They were summoned from my back spawn point here. Figured they would be able to come up, and they do outtrade Kossovite Dervishes very well, especially with the big, you know, monstrous Dino fighting nearby. But the reason why is because Clever Girls do have 90 armor, and Kossovite Dervishes like heavily lack armor piercing. You can see the armor piercing is, I guess it's 6, not terrible, but definitely the 90 melee defense is going to be holding firm as KROQY and company just buckle these Kislevites in the back line. And these Ripperdactyls are just going insane. Over 1,000 value, bouncing back and forth between the Streltsy. This is essential because the Streltsy are really the big answer against both my heavy cavalry as well as KROQY here, so I need to keep these offline. And the Scarvet's doing a great job. Buyer Blood's almost gone. These guys are going to get Buyer Blood popped as the value continues to climb on those Ripperdactyls. I was kind of wishing I had brought more. They seem very effective against the Kislev infantry, but Kislev is coming over to get the cap. I'm at 437, Kislev at 241. Currently, I'd win in 8 minutes if I were able to kind of maintain this cap here. Certainly not going to be easy. Feral Cold Ones do rampage and chase some units off, and Barbara did come back here, but I don't think they're going to be terribly useful. KROQY still doing awesome work, tearing down Winged Lancers. These same Coldland Riders getting the huge Earthblood from the Oracle, which is going to make KROQY reach that healing cap very quickly, but he's up over 1,000 value, which is good. He costs just over 2,000, so certainly needs to get his money's worth. As the last of the Ripperdactyls do finally break, they really paid for themselves, and now Coldland Spear Riders have come in to kind of replace them, so really stuffing Kislev back here. They do have another spawn point on the other side, but looking at Xiphos' army, you know, I don't believe he had any Bear Riders or anything that could really fight these type of units, so it's really like an ugly attrition game here as my armor-piercing units just rip through his backfield, but that does kind of allow him to get the side objective, so he moves over with his Ice Guard swords here. The Ice Guard Glaive's going to be moving in and attacking the Skink Oracle. And he tries to ninja my back objective, which if he had gotten that, I'd be in huge danger. We do get some Clever Girls in there, and Chameleon Stalkers. Now, a lot of people perceive them to be terrible, and they might be, but my theory is that considering he has either Kossars with spears against me, or he has Ice Guard, their kind of burst damage with their explosives, and also their high DPS against light armor might be effective here. I mean, it's not that high, it's 25, but still. They're able to get Vanguard and get to the points quickly, so I don't hate them. We'll have to kind of see how they perform over the course of the game. We do secure the back objective while KROQY is just rampaging in the backfield, and these Coldland Spear Riders and Sora Scarvets living their best life. Another heal going down. Rev Crystal time, baby. Got to do the math on how much that actually heals in terms of HP, but I can see a lot of builds with like double Rev Crystals working. Now, this was a big blunder. I just kind of spaced out, sent in some Razordons. I for some reason thought these were like Kossars, but really, I think these guys aren't that good against Kislev because, you know, the Kislev just has so much hybrid shooting that they just get punished so badly. So that was a huge blunder that could potentially cost me the game there, throwing that. But trying to get this objective back, we do have some Ice Guard Glaives coming in, which is very scary. These ladies are excellent anti-large, very high melee defense, good melee attack, which is going to be bolstered by the anti-large bonus. So the boys are going to be retreating, trying to get away, but I do have an Alpha Strike plan. So I am going to be pulling in KROQY in a second. I have some Coldland Spear Riders and Sara Scarvet coming, and also some Clever Girls that I will be remembering here in a second. So we're really going to be trying to get a big Alpha Strike, and even though they do have good defensive stats, like just sheer numbers and a weight of monstrous units is potentially going to be very devastating. So those Razordons on the backside do get crumped, and honestly really not enjoying them in this game. But we do get the charge in, and the Skink Oracle's not a bad fighter. Razordon and Cavalry coming in the back. The big sandwich is on, the Dino Sandwich. And it is Jurassic Park time, ladies and gentlemen, as they start to take some big damage. But this is where we're really going to be getting a lot of DPS against them. Just kind of volume of like crappy attacks against their semi-low armor. It's going to be very strong. We get a big Earthblood there, and those Ice Guard are getting grinded down. Now, you might be looking at the value and thinking, oh man, how is this like even close? 12,000 to 8,000, give or take. Well, I have done so much healing between Rev Crystals and Earthbloods. It's really probably only like 1,000 value lead for Xiphos. Maybe a little bit more. It's hard to say. But, or maybe less. I really don't know. It's been a lot of Earthbloods, a lot of Rev Crystals on these dinos. You can see I'm almost healing capped on several things. And those Ice Guard Glaives are going to be taken down, which allows us to secure that objective. In the meanwhile, Armored Kossars moving over, and we do have some Chameleon Stalkers moving back in. We have the Razordon packs and some Temple Guard and cohorts all coming out again. So Temple Guard going to be buffering Objective 1 to make sure it doesn't get captured. In the meantime, Xiphos is going to be moving over here with his Ice Guard. We got more Ice Guard over here, and a big Kislev battle line, including some Zargard. Now, Zargard are okay against Lizards. They do dominate Saurus and all of my base infantry, but they also trade ineffectively against my cavalry, as well as the Feral Cold Ones and my monsters. So it's a little bit of a, a dice roll. Granted, I'm a big fan of Zargard against Lizardmen. I think if you have them as a frontline piece and then back them up with ample shooting and things to protect your shooting, it can be a really nasty combo against the old Lizards. So bouncing across, we got Objective 1. At this point, I see his reinforcements. I see the Zargard and Streltsy. I would get shot to pieces if I try and fight here. So taking advantage of my mobility, some of my swifter big dinosaurs, I'm going to be doing a big maneuver over to Objective number 3 as we do get Skink Cohorts moving in, more Skink Cohorts coming here. And the old Skink Oracle, unfortunately, getting popped by Streltsy. So you can see how shooting is still pretty effective on this map, right? Like, despite there being cover. But I like that there's, like, some options, so it's not just a big shooting gallery in the center, and I have a little bit of terrain to work with. Like, these Ice Guards, over 1,000, 600 on these Streltsy, 1,900 on those, 1,500 on these Streltsy. Like, all of the Kislevite shooting seems to be performing very, very well, despite some of them being summoned twice. Clever Girls on their way back in. A very good unit here. Going to be able to disrupt some of these Armored Kossars. And even if they just fight here, if it occupies the Kislev forces and keeps the Zargard from pushing up here, it could be a big value play for us. But we probably have a good opportunity to wrestle this. It's a Streltsy versus the Skink Cohorts. Skink Cohorts do have bronze shields. Razordon hunting packs going to maneuver in, try and get some shots. Not going to be easy. And in the back of my mind right now, I really wanted to get KROQY over here and try and snipe his lord with Hand of the Gods. I do have a second charge of that. Yeah, Lizards don't have Spirit Leech. I'm trying to think. You could do a KROQY build, like KROQY plus a Beastcaster, and do like Amber Spear, Hand of the God sniping. I think that could be viable in a couple different matchups. And then you could use Rev Crystals for healing, which actually seems really good. Granted, Earthbloods have been very strong this game, but really all you need is like a single Rev Crystal. But I actually really like that idea. That feels like it's pretty strong. Hand of the Gods going down, blasting the Ice Witch. Really, really big damage right there. And we do have capture weight for a moment, but this is where things are going to get scary. Ripperdactyls have earned several chevrons. These guys are jacked, juiced to the gills. Going to be moving in on the Streltsy, and honestly, they're going to be pretty resilient against most of these Kislevite units here. Ice Guard swords are on their way back in. It looks like Gust of True Flight is active. Going to give them a little bit of DACA, but unfortunately they are shooting out of the forest, so they're going to take a little bit of a penalty. Definitely should have moved over here, but again, in the heat of the moment, there's so much going on. And I had a lot of units chase off here. This was a big blunder. So those units all just kind of chased off here, and my Temple Guard did move up onto the point, chasing down Streltsy, fighting some Zargard, if I'm not mistaken. No, Zargard are here. But Temple Guard will be able to hold, and it's occupying a lot of my opponent's forces, which is quite nice. Now back on this point here, we do get another Earthblood going down, and the Ripperdactyls just, doing what the name would infer and ripping and tearing, the Doom Lizards. Almost brought Oxyotl here. I feel like he's pretty good against Kislev at dealing with sleds for sure, but Ripperdactyls doing great damage, up to 1,800 value. The points coming into our favor. Skink Cohort's doing really good, and my opponent's infantry numbers are dropping pretty heavily. And we do see an attempt at Ninja Cap here, so this is really stressful. Like, he kept doing this the entire game, like getting these little ninja units back and forth. Feral Cold One's going to have a pretty good fight, even though there's only a couple of them. They should value trade okay into the Ice Guard. But the Ice Guard do have, I think, decent armor piercing. No, not in the sword variant. I thought he had some anti-large ones there. But yeah, forgetting these Feral Cold Ones for that long was really bad. I chased off some cav and they rampaged. That happens a lot as Lizardmen. They rampage, chasing something to the edge of the map, and then you kind of forget about them. So really, really be careful. It's something that, if I had those guys in battle, I could have maybe taken his back objective, but instead it's going to make the game a lot closer. Now, KROQY does get routed. I use Cold-Blooded to try and kind of keep him in the fight so I can unsummon him and not take the leadership penalty. Skink Oracle in here, and this objective looks like it's going to be swinging into our favor as the infantry numbers for Kislev are somewhat non-existent. We get more Stalkers on their way up just to get capture weight. Not going to be that great against Kossars, but again, against Ice Guard swords, maybe they're all right. 452 value, not the worst thing in the world. And finally, the old Boomer does remember these, so the Feral Cold One's going to be coming out of the tree line, and I know they're going to lose this fight. Zargard, Streltsy and some Kossars will be able to grind them down, but it's keeping these units from moving up to this point. Completely undefended here. Like, if one of these units moved up, that point's basically his. I would have to summon out some expensive cavalry or some cold ones, something like that to try and get the W. Score is very close, 1050 to 1033. Incredibly scrappy game here. Ripperdactyls up to 2400 value. These things have just been the saving grace. But on top of that, Skankorakel's not a bad performer either. He does proc the passive on the Ice Witch using his ranged attack, and his whole thing was to snipe Kislev Lords, provide healing, and also take down heavy war sleds. Because he could sit back there, heal through the DPS of the heavy war sleds, and also does have that anti-large ranged attack, which I think is quite good. Chameleon Stalkers have made it on though. Kislev gets their capture weight back, and it looks like some more Ice Guard swords going to move up. But the Cold One Spear Riders have been dominating the entire game, and the Saraskar veteran from earlier has returned to the battle. Not much value, but they're sticky and tough to remove. Have good armor piercing, and you could just sit them on a value piece, and it's going to take a while if they don't have any anti-large. But just look at the Cold One Riders, man. Just melting Winged Lancers, and that's really been the tail of the tape in this game. 1850 value on these guys, really doing the work of the old ones as they grind through the Winged Lancers here. Ice Guard swords won't do that great against them. I mean, they'll do okay. They have good they have numbers and stats on their side, but the 90 armor is going to hold firm. Chameleon Stalkers will trade upwards with a little bit of armor support here, and the Skankorakel still trying to shut down some shooting, but really I was trying to get back here and go after the Ice Witch. Ripperdactyls though, 2700 value. That's with 2 summons. So 2 summons I think is 2200, so they have exceeded their pay grade. That is for sure. Now, this is something that could for sure lose me the game, and it may very well do that. Zargard moving on to the back point here. Needs Zargard to have really good capture weight, and I wasn't paying attention. I didn't see it coming, so he kind of snuck up on me here. I was so fixated on holding the side point that now we get the Zargard coming in. As far as the gold value trading, you can see it's pretty nasty, but again, with my healing taken into account, it's really not that bad. Like, I've healed like easily like 4,000 or 5,000 value here. So Cold One Spear Riders charging in. This is going to be good. I mean, they're good against both these units. So here they come into the Zargard. Got to start lowering those infantry numbers to reduce his capture weight. It's 5 capture weight base. So currently, if you look at Objective 1, you can look up here. It's favoring my opponent by 0.31, which isn't actually that much. But when his cavalry move back on, it goes up to 3, plus 3. So that's where it becomes a little bit scary. So trying to lower those numbers. And I have some skink cohorts and some clever girls coming in. Cohorts, again, have good capture weight. Going to be super essential. And really, the entire game is going to come down to this point. If he gets his point, I'm dead. The game's lost. But if I get it, he's probably lost as well. So I think that's going to be what the main jam here. As the Skink Oracle's back in combat, it does give me access to terror, but against Kislev, it's very niche. Kislev is basically immune to terror unless they've already had their passive procced, at which point they can be terror routed, but generally speaking, terror isn't a very strong mechanic against them. And it looks like we might be able to hold on to this one. Feral Cold Ones get to the point. They're excellent against Zargard units. Cohort's going to be parking on the back. Cold Ones going to be jumping into the blob fight here as Kislev is going to be rallying some Streltsy through the woods, a couple idle units as well. More Zargard coming in from the back, but we're really not going to get there. And look at that. The Ice Witch does get sniped by the Skink Oracle. Very good boy there as he does kind of grind those units down. Chameleon Stalker's not doing bad this game. I'm not upset with them. I was expecting, what I was expecting from him was mass like Kossar Spears, maybe with some Bear Sled, so I figured they would be a good tech for sneaking up on Kossar Spears and taking him out. Really being aggressive in that regard. Skink Oracle's still alive. He's taken over command of the army now that KROQY is tending to his wounds in the spawning chamber, Star Temple, whatever it is. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is probably going to be GG. We got the back point, we got the side point. Kislev just doesn't have the time to get there. Value is about 17 to 24. Crazy stuff. And just shows the power of Lizardmen durability. And that's a really cool new map, so shout out to the creator of that map. That one was awesome. Really enjoyed that one. I'll certainly be adding it to my tournaments here and there, because I think that's a very playable tournament map. It's fun. It adds a different dynamic with a little bit of a closer objective points as well as a little bit of a cover, but enough for shooting to still be viable. Like, Zyphos and I were in chat and we're both like, oh man, was the shooting really bad that game? And then we look at his value, 2,000, 1,400, 3,500. It's like, all right, the cannon maybe did bad. Little Grom was having problems, but everything else seemed to do pretty well, right? Yeah, Streltsy, one of them got 2,700. Yeah, the build, like, I was looking at this build and I was like, it kind of felt like an auto-gen build, but it almost worked. It worked out okay. Like, the Razordons were bad. The Temple Guard probably would cut and just get like Saurus Warriors with shields or something. I feel like that's going to be cheaper and they'll fulfill a similar purpose. Ref Crystal is great for the healing, but really my MVPs were my character squad was pretty good. We got big value from our cavalry, which I think I need more of in this matchup, 1,825. And the Feral Cold Ones were, tar pitting. But yeah, I would probably cut the Razordons, although they're really good against Bear Sled. So maybe keep one. But yeah, Ripperdactyl's also MVP. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. See you next time, ladies and gentlemen. And that is it for tonight.